It's a great day. My name is Che Brown, the happy entrepreneur, and welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the number one business development and revenue focused late night show in the country where we are on a mission. And our mission really is to inspire, our mission is to empower, and our mission at the end of the day is to provide you, that's right, you, the hard working entrepreneur, with all of the resources that are necessary to execute that big vision you have for the people you were called to serve. And on this episode, we have the one and only Dr. Paulette Clark. She's in the building, and she'll be talking about diversifying your marketing and maximizing your exposure in Clout. Isn't that what we all want? What's going on, Dr. Paulette? How are you?
Hey, so happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Jay. Good to be here.
Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. And I'm going to ask the obvious because I know anyone watching has got to be asking this. Maybe I'm the only one. They're like, Shay, can she give her a definition of marketing? Like, what does marketing mean these days that we're going to be talking about? Is it just having a logo these days? Is it just having some colors? So take a moment if you can and talk about what is marketing so that we can all be on the same page during this conversation.
Absolutely. So I'm going to put it in as simple as layman terms as I possibly can. It is your attention. How much attention can you get on you? That's it. You see how simple that was? Didn't have to do a
Yes.
whole lot of explaining. How much attention can you get on you? And there are so many different ways to do that.
Now, as you said that, I guess my next question is why do people struggle these days with marketing? Why are we even talking about it these days? If just getting more attention on you, sounds like they can go right to social media and get all the attention they want. Sounds like they can go to Chat GPT and say, give me more attention. How do I do it?
Yep.
Here's the question. Why are entrepreneurs struggling these days with their marketing?
So there's so many different reasons why. The biggest one is up here. Let's start here. We want to talk about why so many people are struggling with it because we overthink it. Okay. The biggest thing is that we're seeing everyone else do it. And while we are watching everyone else do it, we are not doing it for ourselves. I need that to sink in just for a little bit. Okay. That's number one. We're too busy paying attention to what other people are doing. And the other thing is we are too focused on what other people are doing and measuring ourselves and what we present to the world in our own place. We're measuring it based upon what other people are doing. That's the biggest problem. It's not that you can't do it. It's because you're too busy measuring yourself against others. And I hope that makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense as you were saying that. And there's two areas we're going to talk about in a moment. We're talking about exposure and clout. I'm assuming there's a difference between those two. And the reason I'm asking this is so we can all be on the same page. And don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, she's going to help you. But exposure, what does that mean? And clout, what does that mean? So we can, again, we'll bring in the marketing. Then we got exposure, we got clout. Let's talk about those two for a second.
Okay, so exposure and cloud work in tandem together. They are not the same. And this is another error that a lot of people have is they're consistently trying to get exposure by doing something that is erroneous every single day. And that is we go on social media and we consistently post. But Paulette, isn't that what we're supposed to be doing is consistently posting? Yes, you're supposed to be consistently posting, but number one, with a strategy that is going to expose you to the right group of people. To just haphazardly and to consistently post without a strategy in mind, which means you got to start with the end in mind to find out what your goals are and then find out who your people are, or as we say in the industry, who is your avatar? What is their name? How do they connect and how do you connect with those people? That's the first thing. And how do you expose yourself to those people on a regular basis? Is it going to be through social media? Which platform works best for you? And then lastly, how else are you going to expose yourself outside of social media? Because let me keep it 100 with you. We have been advertising and marketing since we could breathe on this planet as human beings with two legs, right? We have made it a lot more difficult with the simplicity of pieces of equipment and phones and microphones that we have, rather than keeping it simple. How do I get the attention on me and keep it there based upon the strategies that I am going to be utilizing to gain the exposure that I need? That's number one, right? So, what was the other portion of the question? Because there's
Well, I think you kind of
exposure.
explained it. We were talking about clout, and then we were also talking about exposure or exposure and
Yep,
clout. And you were saying they go hand in hand like peanut butter
they
and
do.
jelly, but they're kind of uniquely different, like peanut butter and
They are.
jelly.
They absolutely are. So we're talking about exposure. That's number one. You want to expose yourself in more than just one way. We erroneously lean heavily on our chairs and our desks because it's easier to sit back on this side rather than getting up and meeting the people where they are. Are they at the webinars, at the local seminars? Are they at the local chambers of commerce? Are they other business professionals in your area or beyond where you got to do some traveling and get people to know who you are? That's another thing about exposure. We're getting too comfortable in front of our keyboards. Move around. That's number one. Now let's talk about clout. Clout comes in several different ways. Number one, it is based upon your level of expertise and how you are going to utilize your exposure. You see how they're starting to connect like Legos already? You're going to use your exposure to share your knowledge, your level of expertise. What that really comes down to is if you are exposing yourself and what you have to offer to tons of different people in all spectrums, from social media to physical to print to audio to video, guess what's going to happen? They're going to see your level of expertise, and therein lies your clout, because something is going to happen, and it's called the know, like, and trust factor. Does that help?
Yes, no, like, and trust. I love it. I love it. And as we're talking,
Yeah.
there are two type of entrepreneurs that are watching. And ladies and gentlemen,
Mhm.
don't worry. We're going to get into who is Dr. Paulette. I know some of you have already read her bio. Some of you are
Yeah.
already out there, Googled her. And others are like, Shay, I'm just listening. I just got the podcast in my ears, man. I like what I'm hearing. So I hope you're going to find out who this person is. But before we do that, talk to two type of entrepreneurs as we can. When we talk about diversifying, there's some that are watching, they're dualpreneurs. They work a
Mhm.
full-time job. They're full-time entrepreneurs. They've got a lot going on. And then we have another group of entrepreneurs that this is what they do full-time,
Mhm.
all the time. Is there a
Yeah.
different on how they should be diversifying just because they work a full-time job and they want to be a 9 to 5 millionaire versus someone that does this all the time? Or are these skills you be talking about, these steps, are the universal? And again, ladies and gentlemen, it's a loaded question because you're all in different places and different spaces. I
Mhm.
get it. So you should do the best you can to talk directly to you who's watching and
Yep.
listening now.
Absolutely. They are the same.
Mm.
You have to figure out in your 9 to 5 or your 11 to 7 or your overnight gig when and where you will have to schedule the time to do it, right? It is imperative for you to find those pieces of either social media or print media or audio or radio or podcasting to do the things that you need to do, right? It's the same as if you were doing it full time. I'm going to keep it real with you. This is really going to sting. Are you ready?
I'm
No
ready.
one cares. No one cares that you started a business. The idea is to make sure that you grab enough attention to your product, business, or service so that you can remove yourself from said 9 to 5. Unless, of course, you like what you're doing and you just want to keep it a side hustle. That's another thing. Okay. So when I say that, it is not me being uncaring, it is fact. No one cares. And guess what else? Unless, of course, you tell them, they don't know that you're working a 9 to 5. So guess what you got to do? You got to treat it like it is your 9 to 5. You see what I mean? So how do you do that? You have to use your day-to-day schedule and figure out exactly what it is that you are going to be doing in terms of your marketing, in terms of your advertising. And I didn't say wake up today and start today. Pull out a calendar, folks. I don't care if it's on your computer or if it's a book or if it's a sheet of paper. and write out every single thing that you want to do for your business, starting again with the end in mind and working your way backwards. Because if you don't know where you're going, you can't strategize. You can't figure out what the next move is. So if you say, "Oh, I want to make $10,000 just with the business by itself, and I'm full-time in the business," right? Well, if you want that $10,000, how many units do you need to sell within 30 days? Then the next question is, now that you've broken that down, what is the strategy that I need to get there? Because now that I know, because I heard what Dr. Paulette said, now that I know who my audience is, the next step is, how do I reach them? What are my options? Where are they? Did you do your research? What are the numbers looking like? Do I already have an audience? Are they on my email list? Are they a part of another community that I can connect with? Do you follow where I'm going with this? So this means you're going to have to sit down and you're going to have to plan, whether you are a full-time entrepreneur or if you are an entrepreneur on the side while you're frying bacon and chicken and doing everything else for everybody else.
So well said, by the way. And now the question: Who are we listening to, by the way? And you know the question: Who are you? What's your backstory? And what was that defining moment where Dr. Paulette said, "I'm putting my fork in the ground. I'm going to help entrepreneurs be able to diversify their marketing." So backstory, defining moment that led you to what you're doing now.
Sure. So I've been in this space for as long as I could breathe, and it started out as an accident. This is going to sound insane, but as a small child, my parents had um, books and books and books and books that were literally the Negro Digest, which eventually became Ebony Magazine, which eventually became Jet. And when I was a small child, I would go through and open up the magazines and I would devour the ads, not the articles. And it was something about how those ads made me feel that made me realize that there was an impact and a power that was within the words and the images and the colors and the vibe that you were getting off of those pages. And so I started subscribing to every magazine I could get my hands on. After my career in entertainment, and doing the things that I did with singing and all of the other things, then I decided that the best thing for me to do was to focus my attention on advertising and marketing. So I went to college for that, graduated with my MBA in advertising and marketing, and then went on to get my doctorate or PhD in business ethics. So the cool thing is that I'm still in that space. 25 years in radio as well, in advertising and marketing behind the scenes, honey. I've done the door-to-door sales. I've done phone sales. I've created the copy. I've done the ad work. I've done all of the things. And so when you're talking to someone like myself who has the experience of advertising and marketing from that perspective, I see things a little bit differently. And not only do I see things a little bit differently, I can call it before you can. And I can literally give you exactly what your strategy should be. Now, whether you decide to go with it or not is completely up to you. And I was trained by some of the best, y'all. Some of these folks have been in the business of advertising and marketing since before I was able to walk. Those were the people I was trained under. And they took me under their wing and explained to me the ideas behind advertising and marketing from a straightforward perspective of what's the idea? How do you want the people to feel? Because one thing that I have learned being in advertising and marketing for as long as I have is if I can make you feel it, I got you. There are so many other components that we can pull and levers that we can pull. But if I can catch your heartstrings by reminding you who I am, a minimum of 155 times per hour, I got you. And now with the speed of the internet and social media, I can catch you even quicker. That's
I
scary, isn't
like
it?
it. It's scary. And as we're listening, I'm curious. Thanks for being transparent. Thanks for sharing the backstory all these
Yeah.
years, and you're still super relevant. That's amazing by itself, by the way. Some folks been around
That
for a long time. You're like, okay, well, I'm glad you've been around for a long time, but maybe the ship's kind of sailed. But what I enjoy most about this conversation is you're relevant and you're relatable. And ladies and gentlemen,
mhm.
that's really huge. I'm going to ask if you can to kind of share maybe 3 ideas that someone is listening could take, maybe adopt in their marketing. You've already given a dozen ideas, so it might be a summary of them. And you, as you're out there listening right now, as you tuned in, this is the moment. This is the time. Diversifying your marketing is probably the second most important thing, according to sales. Okay, I'm biased. Okay, I should be biased. That you can do in the business, but it needs to be done right now because without marketing, there is no sales coming in. I will tell you that right now. So take a
Absolutely.
moment if you can. Oh, seriously, I joke, but that's just how I see the world through a sales lens.
Mhm.
And share if you can, maybe just 3 ideas that
Yeah.
anyone can do, or if they're watching right now, that it can help them right in this moment.
The first thing is stop thinking that Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and all of the others is your only way to reach your audience. You should take at least 60 to 70% of your advertising time and dollars and place it in social media, but the rest of that should be placed in radio, because there are some people that don't have internet, don't want to be a part of it. They're quote unquote off the grid. The only thing that they're doing is still listening to terrestrial radio. You're missing a huge market right there. So take a percentage of what you have left and allocate funds to that. Okay. The second thing that you should be doing is absolutely connecting with major websites and backlinking using search engine optimization. That's another thing that you should be doing. So when we also talk about clout, our major big dogs, our search engines like Google and Yahoo and AOL. Yes, AOL is still around, right? We've got Bing and all of the others. They recognize when you are backlinking directly to a major website or another website. That enables you to create what is called clout. That's what I meant by that, in addition to the other cloud, right? So it provides for you a way to quote unquote collaborate and partner by saying, hey, I want to write an article for your website or for your blog that is relevant to your audience. And in addition to that, what I would like to do is allow me to backlink or provide a link back to my website, back to my services. And you'll find that a lot of different blogs and online websites will allow you to do that because content is always king, right? That's the idea. And what I want you to remember, something that I've heard over and over and over again, listen very closely to me. I learned this last year, and it is attention is the new oil. If you can grasp that and continue to breathe that in with everything that you do, that is another way that you can continue to take your social media followings and build that and grow upon it and advertise there, but then also utilize the other two that I talked about, radio and backlinking. The last one is print media, which is magazines, which are newspapers. Let me tell you why. And we miss this so much, especially as entrepreneurs who are so bent on just being online. Guess what's happening right now while you are watching this? Somebody is scrolling and it might be you, but guess what you're scrolling past? Even if you searched for it and the algorithms picked up the ad that you need to see to purchase, you're doing like this. Well, guess what happens when you read a magazine? You're reading it and it is evergreen. So if you decide to do any type of advertising in a print magazine, whether it be local, if you can't afford anybody big, you can always choose a local magazine. Guess what happens? They get placed in local businesses. They get placed in doctor's offices. They get picked up as people sneak out of the doctor's offices because they loved the articles that are in them. They're taking you with them, and it is forever evergreen. And eventually, if you've got the right content, if you've got the right sales pitch in there, guess what they're going to do? They're going to either take their QR code, or they're going to call that 800 number, or they're going to type in the website that you have there. You are missing 3 valuable ways to add to diversifying your marketing efforts by missing out on what has worked for over a century.
Well said. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for being so transparent. There's a good segue, I believe, into one of the segments that we have here called Today is My January 1st. And for those folks that tune in every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you know what we're about to do. You can go ahead and say those magical words. Today is my January 1st. And for all the new folks who tune in for the very first time, welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show. Welcome to the family. We're glad you're here. Today is my January 1st is our personal mantra. It represents a fresh start. It represents a do-over. It means our past, no matter how dark and gloomy that past is or how bright and sunny that past is back there, the past no longer equals the future. And so my question for Dr. Paulette on the other side is really 2 parts. Number one, when you hear those words, today is my January 1st, what do you hear? And then number 2, what was a time maybe in your life or in your business there was a setback, and how did you bounce back from it? Maybe her life's been perfect ever since she was a little girl looking at the magazines. It became Reader's Digest. It became Jet Magazine. I used to look at Jet Magazine too, different reason. But question, just joking with you. There you go. The question I have for you in all seriousness, what was one of the setbacks you had in your life that you had to bounce back from?
A recent one, actually, and it's an everyday uphill thing, is the setback is learning that I can't do everything by myself. Do not be your own stopgap in your business. And learning how to delegate rather than be all of the things and doing all of the things and being all of the things to everybody else while you are building out what you're building out. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to pay for help. And so my aha moment, actually, it happened this year, was as the business that I have continues to grow, I no longer can do it by myself. I have a team of 4 now, including myself, that works directly with me to do the things that we do in advertising, marketing, and publishing. And so to get out of your own way, I would encourage anybody to really sit back and look at all of the things that you have to do and stop trying to juggle all of the balls. It's okay to hand it off to somebody else as you build your team.
I love that. Don't try to do it all. I love it. You know, we have time and we have a few minutes here. I always like to ask the question, what's one of the best pieces of advice that you've ever been given? And I frame it for the audience so they kind of understand you're not coming down off the mound with, you know, the Holy Grail or anything, the 10 Commandments. Yeah. And you've had so many mentors that you talked about for a lot of years, and you probably watch more videos than you could probably remember these days. But if you had to reach out and say, man, here's one of the best pieces of advice I've ever been given that I want to share with the audience, Shay, here it is, and here's why, what would it be?
There was a gentleman whose name was Chuck Phillips. Okay. We called him Papa Chuck. And he told me one thing, sipping a cup of coffee. We were having breakfast out on the lanai, true story. And he said, no matter what you do what you love, and everything else will take care of itself. If what you do does not drive you, wake you up at night, excite you, bring you joy, and fulfill a passion that drives you every single day, then you need to find out what does. What I have learned in my experience, as I go back to that little girl who was in her parents' basement looking at old ebony magazines and the Negro Digest and turning that into a passion for herself, I realized what worked for me. I've been in corporate, I've trained, I've got Lean Six Sigma green belts. I've taught other people what I know. I'm OSHA 30 certified. I'm HRM, HR to the nth degree, labor relations. But I ended up back here in advertising and marketing because it made my soul sing. And that is what you need to do for yourself, is do what you love, and everything else will take care of itself. Things will begin to fall in line when you open up and allow.
I love it. Do what you love. Wow. So what do you do for fun when you're not out saving the world, making a difference, helping people demystify marketing? Like, what do you do for fun these days?
I hang out in my local community. I create videos for fun. Like, I'm a creative. Seriously. And I know that sounds crazy, but that is literally what I do. I enjoy everything creative. I create videos, I do the voiceovers. It's my kids are like, Mother, do you do anything else? This is what I love to do. And because I love it, it does not feel like it is drudgery. And so it becomes also my creative outlet. Now, I do cook. That is something else that I love to do as well. I love to cook and hang out with my family and just really enjoy those moments before I come back, because I can disconnect, and when I come back the creative charge is even greater.
I love it, by the way. I love it. Well, let me first say, as we come down the home stretch, the last two questions, a two-part question, come down the home stretch. Number one, what type of clients is your firm looking to work with these days, if any? And number two, how can folks best connect with you? How can they stay in this conversation over and beyond the time that you and I have now?
Sure. Yeah, we're always looking to work with clients in terms of advertising and marketing. The name of my organization is called Brownstone Worldwide. It houses three media platforms itself: brownstoneworldwide.com, a lifestyle brand, news and information. We also have CityScape Radio, which is a podcast application. And we also have Brownstone Living Magazine. And so what we do through each platform is we opened up a program called the Founder Circle for businesses to come in and get clout, because everybody needs a little bit of that. So we're absolutely open to talking to people and helping them to gain the clout that they need as they continue to grow. You get your own page and you get to write for the magazine, and you get your ads in the magazine and all over the platforms for an annual fee or a monthly one, which adds up to the annual fee. So yeah, we're absolutely looking constantly. And you can always email me directly at Paulette@brownstoneworldwide.com. There you go.
Well, let me say first, thanks so much for being on the Happy Entrepreneur Show. We really appreciate it. Can't wait to connect with you again soon.
Awesome. Glad to be here.
And thank you. Thank you to viewers. Thank you for tuning in, by the way, because, without you, there really is no show, by the way. So we appreciate you showing up. Yeah, it's kind of cool when you hit the like button for those that can watch us on the platform. But more importantly, hit the share button. Like, pay this message forward to another entrepreneur, another business owner that could use this message to really build their business and impact more lives. We really appreciate that. And I never get tired of sharing with you every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time that you really are awesome. You're an incredible, amazing human being. And no matter what you're going through in your life, today indeed is your January 1st. And because of just that one reason alone, I believe your best is still yet to come. Your best is yet to come. Your best is yet to come. With that being said, my name is Che Brown. I hadn't changed. The Happy Entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. And we'll make some good things how we connect again next time. God bless, Dr. Paulette. We out of here. Peace.
Thank you for having me.